Hi there, it's Chris again from Wheelet. Today I'm just going to go through HMOs with you, what they are and what they can do for you. So a HMO is a house of multiple occupancy. So that essentially means you have three or more unrelated tenants in the house, and so you're letting rooms individually to those tenants. Now, a conventional house that you letting to a family, for instance, or your own house would be classified as C3 planning wise. So to go to a C4, you do this when you move from a house let to a family, for instance, or an individual, to being let to three or more unrelated tenants. So it's from C3 to C4. Its planning classification. Now you can do this quite easily outside of what is called Article 4 areas, because that's where the council put in a restriction, so you can't do that without going through them for planning permission, which you're unlikely to get, so just be very careful on that. But most other areas it's easy enough to do that, up to 4 tenants. If you have 5, then you also need to have a HMO license. It used to be over 3 floors and 5 more tenants, but now it's 2 floors, it's 5 tenants, and it's classified as a HMO, or house of multiple occupancy, licensed. Whereas you can have a HMO with less than 5, 3, 4 tenants, but they won't need to be licensed. So who kind of goes into HMOs? Now you're looking at students, professionals, company lets, perhaps short term, maybe a 12-month thing there. Housing associations and charities will lease your property sometimes and have multiple tenants in it. And then you've got another kind of strategy whereby you can convert a property into a HMO on a rent-to-rent basis. So you get an agreement in place whereby you rent and pay the landlord a fixed amount, and then you split the rooms out and let them buy the room. So you don't actually own the house, you just have control to do the, almost like an agent, to actually take tenants in and do a HMO that way while not actually owning the house. And it is a strategy that people can start with a little money, essentially. So as I said, 5 or more, you need a license. 7 or more, you're going to need planning permission, as it becomes into another category, which is called sui generis. And for that you need planning permission, which is not necessarily going to be granted. Obviously, if you're going from a 5 to a 7 and it's already a licensed HMO, you probably have more chance of converting and going to a 7 sui generis. Now, in terms of what you can gain from a HMO setup, it is more work. You're probably looking at, if you give it out to an agent, you're probably looking about 13 to 15% to manage it for you, or you can manage it yourself, but you really need to get the knowledge if you're going to do that. I would recommend joining the NRLA, the National Residential Landlords Association, so they can help you with all the paperwork, etc. And you can effectively manage it yourself. They also give you checklists for all the compliance stuff that you need to have in place, such as an EICR, which is an Electrical Inspection Condition Report, a CP12, which is your gas safe check, which is annual. For licensed HMOs, your PAT test that you will need to do, EPC, etc. So you're going to need to get these in place. Now, what you can do is speak to your council's HMO officer, who'll be happy to explain what you need to have in place to make and get your HMO ready and set up to go. Now, in terms of the kind of money you can generate from a HMO or house of multiple occupancy, the I kind of tend to stick sweet spot really, as they say, that the first two tenants pay all the bills essentially, and basically your mortgage, in terms of the money that they generate. Then from 3 is profit, 4, 5 is profit, 6 again, so 6 is quite good, but then you go to 7 and you've got the added almost hassle, I guess, of getting the planning permission. That can work, but obviously there's different tenant profiles, and sometimes it's harder having more people in a property with them all getting on, etc., and having sufficient facilities and space. So I tend to stick to the sort of 4, 5, 6 in my HMOs. A good 5-bed HMO, which I kind of find my sweet spot to be 5-bed, probably because if you look at Victorian houses, for instance, especially in my area, that's sort of Leicester and Loughborough, very often you can get 3 beds upstairs anyway, and then you've maybe got 2 receptions you can convert to bedrooms, and a large kitchen where you can get dining and seating and maybe a TV up. That can classify without necessarily having a common room. Or sometimes you can have the common room sometimes you can have a common room upstairs, which you can also use instead, perhaps because you can't get a bedroom up there, and that's another way of doing it and getting some extra space. So yeah, you could net about £1,500 a month, which is, that is pretty good going for just one house. How many of those do you need? And that's, as I said, net. How many of those do you need to actually replace your income and potentially just go into property full time instead of do the day job? So it's a great strategy, and it's the one that I'm using at the moment predominantly. I've also looked at letting to 2 students in one house and getting a premium there on the house, because it's another strategy where students want to live together, and only a couple, for instance, sharing facilities because they're friends. So it's another strategy, and I'm also currently looking into holiday lets as well. But my primary focus is HMOs, and it's got me to where I am now. So I thoroughly recommend you do your research. Remember, Article 4 area, unless it's already a HMO and it has those rights and it's already compliant to Article 4, and it has a lawful right to let to 3 or more, then just make sure it has that clearance. And other than that, you must get your compliance in place. And I would start initially, I would look to, if I was you, I would look to get it managed to start with. Learn everything you can for the first year or 2, and then think about doing it yourself, because obviously 13 to 15% is quite a lot to give away. And there you have it, HMOs in a nutshell. If you've got any questions, please leave them. I'm happy to take comments and get back to you, obviously. No problems there at all. So if you like any more videos coming your way, if you've got any that you're interested in, just let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for updates, and that would be fantastic. So thanks very much, until the next time. Cheers, bye.